Sometimes, pain doesn't scream. It hums softly beneath the surface. You wake up. You go through the motions. You say all the right things, but something feels off. No drama, no disaster, just a quiet ache like wearing someone else's skin. Like walking through a life you don't remember choosing. Maybe you've done all the right things. The books, the therapy, the breath work. And still the silence inside you hasn't softened. It's still there, still whispering, "Is this really me?" Carl Jung didn't see this as failure. He saw it as a signal, not a flaw in your design, but a misalignment with your soul's direction. You were born with a compass, but no one taught you how to use it. So you followed borrowed maps from parents, teachers, culture. You built a life from expectations and slowly forgot your original coordinates. The ache inside you? It's not proof that you're broken. It's the echo of your soul calling you home. And maybe, for the first time, you're ready to listen. At some point, you chose a direction. Maybe not consciously, but out of survival. You said yes to things that drained you. You stayed in places that felt misaligned. You became versions of yourself that helped you belong, but never helped you feel whole. And now looking back, you wonder, did I waste my time? Did I lose myself somewhere along the way? But here's the truth. You are not broken because you took a wrong turn. You are not less worthy because you strayed. Even the detour was part of the path. Even the silence, the ache, the missteps, they shaped you. They taught you what you are not, so you could remember what you are. Carl Jung believed that what looks like failure is often initiation. The wrong path isn't the end, it's the moment you begin to question the map. And that moment, that pause, is sacred. This is not about blame, it's about awakening. It's about realizing that your value isn't tied to the life you built to survive. It's rooted in something deeper, something that was never lost, only overlooked. So if you feel far from yourself, don't rush to fix it. Sit with it. Because sometimes it's the wrong path that leads you to the right door. A quiet pull toward something more honest, more alive, more you. Carl Jung called it the map of the soul. Not a literal map, but an intuitive blueprint, made not of logic, but of symbols, dreams, and the silent language of the unconscious. The tragedy is, most people never learn to read it. Instead, we're taught to follow maps drawn by others, family expectations, cultural roles, societal definitions of success. We learn to navigate achievement, image, approval, but not truth. So we walk forward, achieving more, yet feeling less. We become efficient, but hollow, visible, but unseen. Reconnecting with your true self isn't about fixing what's wrong with you. It's about remembering what's real. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about unbecoming what was never truly you to begin with. This path back to the self isn't loud. It doesn't arrive with certainty or applause. It begins quietly, in the stillness between distractions, in the dreams that haunt you, in the questions you've been too busy to ask. And once you begin to listen, really listen, you'll find that your soul has been speaking all along, not to push you, but to guide you back home. The journey back to yourself doesn't happen in a straight line. It happens in layers, slow, circular, intimate. And to return, you have to understand what you're returning to. You see, your inner world isn't a mess of raw. And when you finally pause, when the noise fades and the masks grow heavy, a deeper question begins to surface. If this isn't who I am, then who am I really? You may not have an answer yet. That's okay. Because beneath all the layers you've worn to survive, there's something that's never left you. An inner compass. Random thoughts and emotions. It's not chaos, it's a carefully structured system, a living architecture with depth, direction, and meaning. Carl Jung spent his life mapping this territory, and what he discovered was both humbling and liberating. That the psyche is not a single voice, but a whole chorus, each part playing a role, each part holding a key. There's the ego, the I you think you are. It's the conscious mind, the one that organizes your day, makes your choices. But it's only the surface, a traveler, not the map. Then there's the persona, the mask you wear to belong, to be liked, to survive in the eyes of others. It helps you adapt, but it's not your skin, it's a costume. And when you confuse the costume for the self, you begin to forget who you were before the performance began. Beneath that is the shadow, the parts you've rejected, buried, or denied. Your anger, your envy, your raw potential. But the shadow isn't evil, it's just unseen. And whatever remains unseen within you controls you from the dark. Deeper still are the Anima and Animus, the inner feminine and masculine forces within all of us. These aren't about gender, they're energies, feeling and thinking, intuition and action. When left unconscious, they distort our relationships, but when integrated, they lead us toward wholeness. And at the very core, the self. Not the ego, not the role, but the center of your entire being, the silent guide that holds your truth even when you've forgotten it. Understanding this inner structure isn't just theory, it's orientation. It's how you begin to make sense of your suffering. It's how you stop fighting your mind and start hearing your soul. Because the truth is, your soul has never stopped speaking. You just stopped listening. But now, something in you is waking up again. And this time, you won't turn away. When you don't understand the inner architecture of your soul, when you live only from the surface, things begin to break in quiet, invisible ways. You don't shatter all at once. You just start to feel off. A slow exhaustion that sleep can't fix. An ache that has no name but refuses to leave. You find yourself caught in the same loops, same kinds of relationships, same regrets wearing different faces. You begin to wonder if you're cursed or just unlucky. But it's neither. You're simply misaligned. When the self is ignored, when the shadow is buried, when the persona becomes your entire identity, your soul pushes back. Not to punish you, but to wake you. Anxiety, apathy, confusion. These are not flaws in your design. They're signals that you've strayed from the path meant for you. Signals that you're living too far from what is real inside you. Carl Jung saw these symptoms as messages, not of disease, but of disconnection. And the longer you ignore the call, the louder it becomes, until the body begins to carry what the soul can no longer hold in silence. This is not weakness. It's your inner world demanding your attention. And that pain you feel? It's not the end of your story. It's the moment the real story begins, when you finally stop running and start remembering who you are. It doesn't happen all at once. You don't wake up one day and decide to forget yourself. It's gradual, subtle, like being slowly shaped by invisible hands. From childhood, we're taught to be good, to be liked, to be useful, to be impressive. We learn to silence our feelings when they're inconvenient, to smile when we're hurting, to achieve instead of feel. And little by little, we build a version of ourselves that works in classrooms, boardrooms, social circles. A version that fits, that pleases, that performs. Carl Jung called this the persona. The mask we wear to survive in the eyes of the world. And while it protects us, it also disconnects us. Because the more we become what others want, the further we drift from who we are. Modern culture celebrates this mask. It rewards the loud, the polished, the productive. Not the introspective, not the raw, not the soul that whispers rather than shouts. So we become successful and hollow, visible but unseen. But lost. We learn to perform instead of live, to impress instead of express. And in that performance, we forget, not because we are weak, but because we've been trained to forget. But deep beneath the persona, beneath the applause, the expectations, the roles, something remains untouched, still breathing, still waiting. The self, whole, quiet, and patient. It doesn't push, it simply waits for you to stop performing long enough to remember. It doesn't begin with a breakdown. It begins with small, quiet symptoms, a restlessness you can't name, moments of numbness in the middle of a busy day, a heaviness that follows you, even when nothing is wrong. You might find yourself withdrawing, not because you don't care, but because everything feels distant, slightly out of reach, like watching your own life through a pane of glass. Present, but disconnected. The dreams come next, strange symbols. Familiar places, twisted in unfamiliar ways. Lost houses, locked doors, roads that lead nowhere. They're not just dreams, they're messages, fragments of a deeper self trying to speak. And then there are the patterns, the same types of people, the same kinds of pain, cycles that repeat like déjà vu. Not because you're careless, but because something in you is still trying to resolve what was never seen. Carl Jung taught that these signs are not random. They are psychic signals, evidence that the path you're walking doesn't match the truth of who you are. They are not punishments. They are invitations to stop, to listen, to turn inward and ask, what part of me have I left behind to survive this life? When you feel like life is happening without you, it may be because you've been living outwardly for too long, and your soul is calling you back home. And the call always begins with discomfort, because something deep within you remembers that you were meant for something more honest, something more you. There is no perfect roadmap for finding your way back, because the path was never outside of you to begin with. No book, no mentor, no system can tell you who you truly are. But there are tools, gentle lanterns for the dark. Carl Jung called this sacred return the individuation process, not a self-improvement plan, but a remembering. It begins not with striving, but with listening. Listening to your dreams, not just for meaning, but for symbols. Recurring images, forgotten places, hidden figures. They are the soul's native language, clues from the unconscious, fragments of truth trying to break through the surface. Then there's active imagination, a way of entering into dialogue with what lives inside you. You don't control it, you receive it. Through images, writing, movement, or silence, you allow the unconscious to speak in its own rhythm, not to entertain, but to reveal. And then there is the shadow, the painful mirror, the part of you you've disowned, and yet the part holding your greatest potential. Shadow work is not about judgment, it's about wholeness, about welcoming what you once ran from and realizing it's been longing to be seen, not feared. This journey isn't linear, it's cyclical, deep, uncomfortable at times, but it's not about becoming someone new, it's about becoming real. You do not need to erase your past, you don't need to rewrite your story, you only need the courage to include all of it, the light and the dark, the wounds and the wisdom. Because true healing isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about reintegrating what was forgotten and allowing your full self, not just the version that pleases others, to finally come home. You were never meant to be perfect. You were meant to be whole. And wholeness is not clean, polished, or free of flaws. It's raw, honest, undeniably human. Healing doesn't mean erasing the darkness. It means making room for it, sitting beside it without fear. It means understanding that the parts of you you once buried, your anger, your doubt, your longing, were never meant to be destroyed. They were meant to be integrated. Carl Jung taught that the self isn't born from light alone. It's born in the dance between opposites, between the persona and the shadow, between the ego and the unconscious, between who you thought you were and who you are becoming. Integration is the moment you stop fragmenting yourself to be accepted. The moment you realize you can hold contradictions, joy and grief, strength and softness, love and fear, and still be whole. It's not the end of your inner work. It's the point where your inner world becomes a home, not a battlefield. And when that happens, you begin to live differently. You stop performing and start being. You stop seeking worth because you remember you already have it. You stop chasing wholeness because you are it. The journey of individuation doesn't make you perfect. It makes you true. And in a world that rewards the mask, there is nothing more radical or more liberating than becoming fully, unapologetically yourself. You were never truly lost, only walking a path that was never yours to begin with, following voices that were louder than your own, playing roles that kept you safe but silent. And yet beneath it all, your soul never left you. It didn't punish, it waited, it whispered, through restlessness, through dreams, through longing, not to shame you but to invite you to remember, to feel, to return. Not to some perfect version of yourself, but to the real one. The one you were before the world told you who to be. This journey is not about becoming, it's about uncovering, about seeing what's always been there, hidden beneath the noise, the masks, the expectations. And now, maybe for the first time in a long time, you're ready to listen. So be still, be soft, and when the voice inside you speaks, you'll recognize it. Not as something new, but as something ancient, something yours, and it will say, "Come home."